Join me on DraftKings. Go to Dr. T23.site. That is DRT23.site. Go ahead and click join me on DraftKings and get your $200 bonus bet when you bet $5 instantly on DraftKings Sportsbook money lines, totals, and same game parlays. DraftKings has the action. On this week's episode, we are breaking down every aspect of the second round of the NBA Finals. We'll dive deep into it and we will address all of the ongoing beef and drama that is taking place in 2024. Y'all, I'm tired. We'll talk about all of it. It's coming up next on A Win is a Win. Let's go. Welcome back, y'all. Welcome back. I know y'all love my singing. I see it every time. I see it in the chat. You love my singing. You want me to keep doing it? Let me know in the comments. Welcome back to another episode of A Win is a Win. Ooh, lots of things to go over in this episode. So before we get into all of that, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this podcast. And don't forget to tell somebody else to join A Win is a Win. Go ahead and listen to it. But go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Listen, I see you when you listen. I can see the data. But go ahead and subscribe. Listen, I know it's like a commitment. It's a relationship. Do you want to commit? Don't you? Listen, I promise you, I'm not even asking you for any money. Nope, no money involved. It don't cost a thing. And while you're at it, go ahead and hit that notification bell so you can get the necessary notifications when another episode drops. 2024. I'm tired already, and it's just May. K. Dot and Drake had everyone in the chokehold for about a week. All right, fast forward. Then you have Chris Brown and Quavo had a little light tap in, tap, tap. Metro Boomin put out an instrumental disc. Interesting. And that was just the rap beef. Listen, y'all, I wake up this morning and Shannon Sharpe, and the Diesel Shack are beefing. Cold, stone outright. Shaq woke up at what would be 1 a.m. my time and had some things to get off his chest about comments that Unc made on Nightcap about him being jealous of other bigs in the NBA, referencing why he made comments to the Joker, about how he felt, which a lot of us do feel that SGA should have gotten MVP. Nonetheless, he thanked him, told him that it wasn't nothing but love. You know, Joker, he could care less one way or the other. He just want to get home to his horses and whatever else he likes to do. Unc commented on that, sent Shaq into a spiral after that. I mean, Google it. I have the audio. I just don't feel like playing it. Y'all go Google it. It's all over social media. I was weak this morning. Weak. You hear me? A mess. And, you know, all I can say is it's too early in the year to have all of this happening at one time. Then you have Rivers, okay? If you don't know who I'm talking about, Doc Rivers' son, NBA player. He's got the NBA and the NFL in all out war. Oh yeah. Yes, he does. He made some hefty comments about there were he believes that he can take 30 players right now in the NBA and throw them into the NFL. You cannot take 30 NFL players and put them in the NBA. Austin Rivers. And to continue with the drama that is unfolded for that, he chimes in on James Jones's comments on Speak on FS1. In the comments, it said, I don't even know who you are. I've never even heard of you. To which James Jones just goes on a 2-minute scathingly hot read. They exchange words. That's enough. 2024. It's just May. Okay? It's just May. We haven't even, listen, we have not cracked the plastic yet off of summer. Summer hasn't even gotten here yet. We haven't even cracked the plastic off of that, and it's already a mess. Listen, Uncle Shaq, stop it right now. Stop it right now. You are both sports legends in your own right. Now, go get some money together or something. Go fish, play golf, or do something, but knock it off right now before I go get my Switch. That's enough. Leave that to these young folks. Leave that to the 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 people who are within that realm. That's not for y'all. We can agree to disagree. But for you all to be going back and forth on social media like this, get them on Club Shay Shay, sit down and talk it out if necessary. We're going to jump into some sports news next. Well, Pat Bev looks to be suspended for 4 games without pay. Now, if you don't know, he was suspended for forcibly throwing a basketball multiple times at spectators and inappropriate interaction with the reporter during media availability backstage. And in a locker room. If you didn't know what took place, he simply asked the reporter if she followed his podcast, and she said, your podcast? No, I don't. And he said, well, then I'm not answering any of your questions. I'm not talking to you. Okay. That whether she follows your podcast or not, you still should handle the media in a certain manner. If you felt like she needed to follow your podcast, then you do that afterwards and extend the invitation. Moving into, we don't know what was said between he and the fan, and that's what some people are saying. Oh, he was suspended, but we don't even know what happened. Be that as it may, there's a rule in the NBA: you don't go in the stands. Let's think about what happened at the Palace. I'm old enough to remember that. If you don't, go on to Netflix or YouTube, you can find it. Melee in the Palace. Listen, he throws the ball and he motions to the fan to throw the ball back, and then he forcibly pitches the ball back into the stands, hitting the young lady that was standing next to the gentleman who ultimately caught the ball. So, sometimes you have to live and die on the heel of your own decisions. And so I'm surprised it's 4. I thought it would be more, but hey, 4 games without pay, and this is not his first time. We all know Pat Bev's history. Hopefully, possibly, maybe he'll calm down after this. Jamal Murray lost it in their second game, against the Wolves. Um, if you were watching, he threw multiple objects in the direction of the field of play and at a game official in game 2. Um, and for that, he was fined 100K. Listen, here's my issue with the NBA. There isn't any consistency. Let's take a look at this for a second. He's fined 100K. You're throwing objects on the floor while the game is in progress. This wasn't a dead ball. It wasn't anything of that nature. Whether dead ball or in game or not, it's still wrong. Whereas and he's fined 100K. Whereas we look at what just happened with Pat Bev, whether he threw it at a fan or not, it's still the behavior. He's suspended for 4 games without pay. I will continue. What happened with Steph Curry? If we recall, he threw his mouthpiece and was immediately ejected. Immediately ejected. And I believe if someone wants to look this up, it happened more than once. The objects that were thrown, if you're looking at the game, your own player could have slipped, fell, hurt themselves, which you don't want this deep into an NBA playoff run. Or if you look at, I believe it was an ice pack or a hot pack that he threw, the ref could have turned, if he hadn't have turned around, he could have slipped, fell, broke a limb, or God forbid hit his head on the floor. Regardless if you disagree with a call or not, that type of behavior shouldn't be tolerated. And Adam Silver needs to sit down with the league office and decide what type of energy are you going to keep for every player. This picking and choosing stuff can't happen. It can't happen. You can't set a precedent with one and say, we don't tolerate this. Here's your fine. You get ejected. You don't get paid. Oh, well, we know it's the playoffs. We don't really want to make it an unfair advantage. And so we're just going to fine you, but you can still play. Knock it off. Glenn Big Baby Davis. Now, if you know, he was caught up in fraud. Now, he has been sentenced to 40 months in prison for defrauding the NBA's healthcare plan. Now, what Davis did was pretty much just stupid. And this is what happened. He was charged, he was brought up on federal charges for allegedly defrauding the NBA health and welfare benefit by submitting false reimbursement claims. That arrest happened in 2021. Listen, when you dive deeper into this story, when I say stupid, stay with me. This is what he did. He files a claim for dental work exceeding $100,000 in LA. If you're going to lie, at least be consistent with the lie so it can kind of make sense, because old saying goes, a lie don't care who tell it. And if you ask multiple people and they saying the same thing, where everybody ain't gonna tell the same lie. Well, during the federal investigation, the charges and the claims that you submitted for dental work at the time frame in which you indicated in LA, you were actually in Las Vegas. Multiple people testified to this. Here's the thing. A lot of times, professional sports, they don't have healthcare at all, or they don't have the best. So when they do have something and people defraud it, it makes it that much harder for either things to get better or things to change for the favor of the athlete. What I mean is there isn't going to be any positive benefit to everyone else when someone does something such egregious as this. It makes it difficult for the process to work going forward. Now, what kind of dental work? I'm interested. What kind of dental work did you require, sir, that cost $100,000? I'm interested in understanding what that was. Rajon Rondo talks about the problem of not having true point guards in the NBA any longer. Now, obviously, we know he's one of the most effective players to ever play in the NBA. A lot of times, I think he's left out of very necessary conversations. Um, but during his time in the NBA, in the sense that he was a playmaker first and a scorer second, I'm going to repeat that. He was a playmaker first and a scorer second. Rajon, now 38 years old, averaged 7.9 assists per game for his career and led the league in assists per game on 3 different occasions, twice with the Celtics and obviously once with the Kings. Now, in addition, Rondo dished out about a little over 7,500 assists across his total 16-year NBA career, the 15th most of any player in the league. Now, when asked about why true point guards don't exist anymore in the league, he said, I mean, it's sad. I believe the basketball gods appreciate myself and Chris Paul the way we played the game. I believe the right way. And he's not lying. I mean, say what you want about Chris Paul. Now everyone declines, but at the height of their career, balling. It was not it wasn't that every guard is scoring down is selfish. I really don't know what he meant there, but I'll finish. But at the same time, the point guard is a leader of the floor. He's an extension of the coach on the floor. And pretty much basically he's controlling the tempo of the game. So I'm gonna pose this question down in the chat. Do you all agree with Rondo? Is there a significant absence now of true point guards that are in the NBA? Get down in the chat. Let me know what you're thinking on that. Colin Cowherd of the Herd, and I believe he is the owner or proprietor or something like that of the Volume Sports. Really, really good network for podcasts. Trying to get on that as well. Anyway, basically, he has an issue if you follow him for a while, which I have, about backwards hats. Where Colin doesn't like backwards hats. Is how I see it. If you look at his show, you see where Colin was wrong, where Colin was right. Well, where Colin doesn't like backwards hats. He went in on JJ Redick for having his hat backwards, being a potential candidate for the LA Lakers coach, while on the podcast with LeBron talking about their run in the playoffs. And he says, quote, he looks like the guy that's going to my he looks like the guy that's going to move my couch. To which JJ Redick went on X and said, quote unquote, LOL. It didn't stop there. Then you had LeBron chime in and say, well, at JJ, he really doesn't like your hat. So I wonder if this guy is okay. And he has a damn good job, I believe, which Jason Kidd has his hat backwards at a presser after a game, to which Colin then replied on X, hurtful with the period. Listen, I get people like their thing. Their thing is their thing. And Colin's thing is clean shaven, hat to the front, strong handshake, things of that nature. And that's no issue. And that's his opinion of what he thinks. But everyone who's wearing a hat backwards there aren't they're not idiots, Colin. Come on now. They're not idiots. And JJ Redick has a very high basketball IQ. And we all know that. Jason Kidd does as well. But, once you say something and you put it out there, it's out there in the universe for people to, reply. So you have that back and forth happening right now on X. Now here's something that is kind of interesting. There was Sports Center, I believe, put out, or ESPN, excuse me, put out um, the candidates for Finals MVP. Okay, Jason Tatum sat at number one. Okay, he's plus 145, and some people had an issue with that because of his inconsistencies in how he plays during the playoffs. I mean, in some cases in the regular season, saying that he's not the closer that Brown is. So I'm going to run through this list. And you all let me know if you want, get in the chat. Let me know if you want, agree with this list, or if you don't, what would your list be? And is there someone that you think should be on the list that's not? So as I said, we have Tatum came in at number one, and then respectively at number two, Ant-Man came in at plus 360. SGA came in at three at plus 700. Jaylen Brown came in at number four at plus 900. Jalen Brunson came in at five at plus 1400. Luka at six at plus 1700. Jokic at tied for six at 1700. So he and Luka are tied for six. And so when we skip to eight, because you technically have to make one of them seven. Derek White comes in at plus 25. Carl Anthony Towns is at plus 300 at 9, and then 10 Porzingis is at plus 4,000. So Celtics have 4 out of 10 players with the highest current odds to win Finals MVP. Do you agree? Jump down in the chat and let me know. I am biased being a Cavalier fan. I think that for them to be this deep in the playoffs in a very long time, I think that Mitchell should have been on this list 8, 9, or 10. He's, 50-point games, carrying the team into the semifinals with essentially little to no help. I believe he should have been on this list. But nonetheless, jump in the chat. Let me know exactly what you think of this list and everything that we just went over. Give me your opinion. Chime in. Let me know. And we're going to come back with some NBA playoff updates. Want to get started on your weight loss journey? We all do. Well, we know weight loss can be difficult, but medical advancements have created an absolute game changer. Yes, semaglutide is a once-a-week shot that can lower your A1C, curb your appetite, craving, slow digestion, and can help you feel full sooner and longer. How do you sign up? Go to DrT23.site. That is DRT23.site. Go ahead and click semaglutide. Get signed up for your weight loss goals. Concern over the Knicks high minutes. Now, if you know about Tibbs, he's known for playing his starters at extremely high minutes. Now, Josh Hart has just played the entire game for the 4th time this season. That is the most since Jimmy Buckets. I believe it was in 2013. And let's not forget how he played Derrick Rose as well. So how much of Tibbs putting extremely high minutes on his starters are affecting their injuries? Let's talk about it for a minute. Now, I know you've probably heard it before that sports is 90% mental and 10% physical. But when you look at situations like this, not only is the stress affecting obviously your mental, but it also plays a significant role in your physical game as well. Now, stress comes with a long list of symptoms. Overplaying your starters when you essentially are saying to everyone you don't have a bench to defer to, well, you start to get into issues, for example, tension, anxiety, fatigue, even sleep disruption, and the list goes on and on. And stress not only affects the day to day on the court, for example, practice. He's known for extremely long practices, which coaches need to learn how to stress manage, and not overload the athlete with high minutes. Now, I get it. It's the playoffs, no excuses. But when you look at the injuries, when you look at your team and the amount of players that are down or could potentially go down because you know, there are no excuses, get out there and play mentality. Yes, this is the playoffs, and I don't want to hear it. That can cause potential problems in the long run. Playoffs or not, you still have to know how to load manage, work your bench, whether you have it or not, and give your starters some breaks. Not to mention, that leaves a bad taste in the mouth of athletes as well. So, Josh Hart had a lot to say about OG going down and what adjustments possibly need to be made. So, let's take a quick listen to the audio if we have it here. Yes.
I'm playing 48 anyway, dog. Ain't change. I don't know. Maybe match up or maybe be a little more aggressive on the offensive end. But obviously we hope he's good. But Precious gave us big minutes this season. The last series today. So we're comfortable with the out there.
So basically, Josh is saying I'm playing 48 minutes no matter what. So listen, jump in the chat. Let me know, can the Knicks get to the finals in a deeper playoff run? And can they be healthy on the run to get there? Do you think they have what is needed to get them, deep into the playoffs with playing so many high minutes? Let me know down in the chat. All right, y'all. The Joker is MVP 3 times over now. Yep. It was announced on Inside the NBA on TNT, and Barkley informed Joker, to which he was just, he could care less either way. However, it had just about the entire NBA world, fans, commentators, analysis, ex-players chime in. One being that of which I mentioned earlier, Shaq, congratulated Joker, but at the same time expressed his thoughts of who he felt should be, MVP, which was SGA. And I don't disagree, but I do think that comment probably could have either been omitted or not mentioned at that level, of blatancy. So, he was just blatant with it, came out, but then, showed nothing but love to Joker, to which, like I said, Joker, he could care less. He's just like, okay, it's another one. He's won it so much now. He'd rather be at home, I believe, in Serbia. I believe that's where he's from, playing with his family and tending to his horses. But you also had Dwight Howard chime in, and he says, first off, I think it's still a lack of clarity of what quote unquote MVP means and the way it's voted on. Is it the best player or the player who has the most value to his team's success? It still intrigues me that Kobe and even Shaq only have one MVP. Also, it's crazy that Bron doesn't have more MVPs than anyone else. He's probably the most snubbed. Lastly, D Wade, Melo, and the man on the NBA logo. never winning is crazy. So, what do y'all think? What's the biggest MVP snub of all time? Jump in the chat. Let me know. I mean, SGA was about 15 votes behind, but I don't agree with everything that Dwight Howard says. But in this situation, I believe there is a point there that he has, and a conversation that maybe needs to be had in the NBA. I mean, you have writers who have voting rights. You have columnists who have voting rights. You have uh sports anchors who have voting rights. I don't understand the criteria or why certain people are allowed to vote and others are not. Interesting. We shall see how that happens. Let's get into some of these games. My Cavs knocked the Boston baked beans out the Celtics, okay? Took the W 118-94. Listen, they outscored the Celtics in the third and fourth. 36-24 in the third and 28-16 in the fourth. Mitchell, 29 points, 8 assists. Mobley, 10 rebounds, which 9 of those were defensive, 1 offensive rebounds. Now for the Celtics, Tatum had 25.7 rebounds and 7 defensive rebounds and 6 assists. So, Cavs, let me just tell y'all this, okay? Don't y'all let the Celtics knock the Roman burgers out of y'all back home in the land. If you from Cleveland, you know where I'm going with that one. Get the 2 and go back for some clam chowder and shut this series down. You already know I'm riding with my Cavaliers. Listen, the Mavs rode into KC and rained on the entire thunderstorm. Mavs took the W 119-110. And some people say, okay, well, Tiff, they only lost by 9 points. Yeah, but at one point it was tied, and then another point you were up. And then, you know, Kyrie became a facilitator and Luka just took over. So Doncic had 29 points, 10 rebounds, 7 assists. Kyrie, the facilitator, had 9 points, 3 rebounds. Check this out. 11 assists. 11. Hardaway Jr. came off the bench, 17 points, 2 rebounds, and 1 assist. And then on OKC side, you had SGA had 33 points, 12 rebounds, and 8 assists, followed up by Williams with 20 points, 4 rebounds, and 4 assists. Listen, OKC, y'all better find the lightning in y'all's thunderstorm and light it up on Saturday, okay? You don't want to go to Dallas and end up 3-0 or excuse me, you won't, you don't want to go back down 3-1, excuse me, because y'all did get one. You don't want to go back down 3-1 and then have to come back, and then we just go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Okay, you don't want to do that. Consistency. SGA can't do it all by himself. He needs some help. So all players need to show up tonight. You got the Knicks are up 2-0. They are going at it with the Pacers this evening. The game I cannot wait to see, as I'm sure everybody else is, the Wolves are up 2-0 over the Denver Nuggets. Listen, MVP Joker, what you gonna do? You better turn it up. 3 times MVP. What are you gonna do? You gonna let the Wolves come in and eat some more chicken nuggets, or are you gonna show up and play like the MVP that you just got voted to? All right. Quick injury report up next. Your AI sidekick has arrived. That's right. Turn off the bat signal because Blaze is here to save the day. Blaze is an AI sidekick for overwhelmed teams of one just like you. Brainstorm and outline content ideas with AI. Go from idea to on-brand content in minutes. Turn a blog post into 10 plus asset types, ads, social posts, emails, and more. Collaborate with colleagues in real time and get content approved. Go to drT23.site. That is DRT23.site. Navigate to Blaze and download today. Looks like OG Anunoby will be out for game 3 with a hamstring. Obviously, we saw him go down in game 2. And Brunson is questionable for tonight as well. Listen, before I get out of here, y'all, I got a game to see just like y'all do. Here's the question down in the chat. I'm going to give you my 5 and let me know what your 5 is. Rudy Gobert just was named Defensive Player of the Year 4 times now. 4. Okay. Some people agree, some people don't. Leads me to this question. Who are your top 5 defensive players in NBA history? I'll give you mine. Hakeem, Dikembe, Shaq, Duncan, and Wilt. I'm going to throw a couple extra in there because I just like to be extra when it comes to basketball. Russell, Kareem, Pippen, and I'll even go back to who my dad used to talk about in this company, but McHale. I mean, they all must have been playing tennis or something. Were they tennis players? Because my Lord, of all time, I want to hear what you guys have to say. Jump in the chat. Give me your top 5 defensive players of all time in NBA history. That's going to wrap for this week's episode. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this podcast. And don't forget, hit the subscribe button. Now, come on, y'all. Y'all listen to it. I see the analytics. Okay? The data doesn't lie. But I'm not asking you for any money. It don't cost you a thing. Just hit the subscribe button, okay? That's all. And go ahead while you're doing that. Hit the notification bell so you know when a new episode drops. Don't forget to catch us on Apple Podcast. Where are we at? On iHeart now, absolutely. And of course, Spotify or wherever you get your podcast. And I'll see you next week.